The first time Nathan asked me if I loved him, it was late in the evening, and we were sitting on the small balcony of our apartment in Austin, Texas. The city's skyline glowed in the distance, and the faint hum of cars on the freeway mixed with the summer night air. I remember the way he leaned back in his chair, holding a glass of water, looking at me like I was the only person who mattered. "Do you love me, Emily?" he asked, his voice steady but carrying a quiet weight. I should have answered him seriously. I should have looked into his eyes and told him the truth. But instead, I laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a cruel one, just the kind of laugh you give when you don't know how to respond to something heavy. It slipped out before I could stop it, and once I started, it sounded like I was brushing off the question. He smiled faintly, but his eyes dimmed in a way I didn't fully notice at the time. He let it slide that night, but looking back, I know that was the first crack. Nathan and I had met 3 years earlier at the university library in Austin. I was studying literature, and he was majoring in engineering. He had the kind of patience most people envy, the kind that let him quietly solve math problems for hours while the world outside moved too fast. I was the opposite. I thrived on movement, laughter, and conversation. I liked to fill the silence with words, sometimes without realizing that not every silence needs to be broken. That difference between us, at first, felt like a perfect balance. He grounded me, and I brought light into his life. Or so I thought. We dated for a year before moving in together. Our apartment was small, just 2 rooms and a tiny kitchen, but it was ours. He decorated with neat lines and muted colors, while I insisted on throwing in bright throw pillows and stacks of novels that never stayed on the shelves. Somehow it worked. At least for a while. The laughter, though, it lingered. Every time he tried to talk about something deeper, marriage, love, the future, I found a way to lighten the mood. It wasn't that I didn't care. I did. I loved Nathan in ways I didn't fully understand myself. But the weight of admitting it out loud scared me. Maybe it was because of my past. Growing up in Dallas, I had watched my parents' marriage crumble. My mother left when I was 12, and my father never remarried. I told myself I didn't believe in grand declarations anymore. Love, to me, was in the small things. The way Nathan always made me coffee in the morning, the way he remembered to pick up my favorite snacks, the way he stayed awake when I had late-night deadlines just so I wouldn't feel alone. But to him, love needed to be spoken. He needed to hear the words, to know that what he was giving wasn't one-sided. One night, after a long day at work, Nathan asked again. "Emily," he said softly as we lay in bed, "do you love me?" I turned to look at him, his brown eyes searching mine, and again I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I felt cornered by my own fear. "Of course I do," I said quickly, trying to cover my laughter. "You know that." He didn't press me. He just turned away, his back facing me, and I felt the distance stretch between us even though we were inches apart. The weeks that followed were quieter. Nathan still cooked breakfast, still asked about my day, but there was a heaviness in him that I couldn't shake. I told myself it was stress from work. He was working on a major project at his engineering firm, often coming home exhausted. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. The truth is, I had taken his presence for granted. I thought Nathan would always be there, patient and steady, no matter how many times I dodged his questions or brushed off his vulnerability with humor. But then came the evening that changed everything. It was a Friday night. We were supposed to go out with friends, but Nathan came home early, saying he wasn't feeling up to it. I stayed with him instead. We ordered takeout and sat on the couch, the TV playing a movie neither of us was watching. Halfway through, he muted the volume. "Emily," he said again for what felt like the 100th time, "do you love me?" I froze. My heart pounded because I knew this wasn't just another casual question. He was giving me one last chance. And what did I do? I laughed. Not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know how else to react. I felt exposed, unprepared to bare my heart in that moment. But Nathan didn't laugh. He didn't even smile. He set the remote down, stood up, and walked to the bedroom. Minutes later, he came back out with a small duffel bag. My stomach dropped. "Nathan, what are you doing?" I asked, panic rising in my chest. He looked at me with a calmness that cut deeper than any anger could. I can't keep asking for something you won't give, he said. I love you, Emily. I always have. But I can't be the only one saying it. And then he left. The days after his departure blurred together. I called him, texted him, even went to his office once, but he wouldn't see me. I tried to explain that my laughter wasn't rejection, just fear. But my words came too late. The silence of our apartment was unbearable. Every corner of the place reminded me of him. The coffee mugs he used, the blanket he favored on cold nights, the chair where he used to sit and read. For the first time, I understood what it meant to lose something because you didn't value it enough when you had it. Months passed, and life moved on, though I felt stuck in the past. Friends tried to cheer me up, telling me that if Nathan truly loved me, he would come back. But I knew better. He had loved me, deeply, patiently, unconditionally. And I had failed to show him that I loved him too, at least in the way he needed. I learned something painful but important. Love isn't just in the unspoken gestures. Sometimes it has to be said out loud, clearly, so the other person knows without a doubt. The last time I saw Nathan was by chance, at a bookstore in San Antonio. He was browsing the engineering section, and I was there looking for a new novel. Our eyes met across the aisle. For a moment, it felt like nothing had changed. I smiled softly. Hey, he said, polite but distant. We talked for a few minutes, catching up on work and life. He seemed happy, peaceful even. And though my heart ached, I realized that maybe, just maybe, he had found the certainty with someone else that he never got from me. As we said goodbye, I wanted to tell him I loved him, that I had always loved him, but the words stuck in my throat, just as they always had. And so I let him go, truly this time, watching as he walked away, carrying a book under his arm. Now, when I sit alone in my apartment, I think back to that first night on the balcony when Nathan asked me if I loved him. I remember my laugh, the way it hurt him, and the way he hid it with a smile. If I could go back, I'd tell him immediately. I'd say the words he longed to hear. Yes, Nathan. I love you. I always have. But life doesn't give us rewinds, only lessons. And mine was clear. Never let laughter replace love when someone needs to hear the truth. Because sometimes they won't laugh with you. They'll walk away.